Be respectful for the people that are presenting, not doing any personal attacks. There's no reason for going over names, okay? We're not here for that. We're here just for yourself, give a presentation. If you have any questions, committee members will go first, they get 2 questions. Same thing for the non-committee members, the same thing y'all will get. But be respectful. These are not open for statements all day. Go in there, ask your questions in there. Now, before we take attendance, Councilman Newton has my co-chair.
I know the Board of Ed is here on the capital plan. Okay. And there's some issues on there that don't pertain to what our discussion is about today. So about closing schools and all of that, I do not want to hear it. If I hear it, it's not talking. If it ain't about numbers, that's what we're talking about. And I'm not gonna, I'm telling you up front. Okay, I'm telling you up front. They're here to talk about their capital plan. We're not here to debate if the school should be closed or not closed. That's not why we're here. Take that up with, I'm talking earlier. You ain't recognized yet. I'm telling you now, do not do it. Because if you do it, you're not going to speak no more. Real simple, you don't like it, file a complaint. Because the chairs have the authority to allow people to speak and not allow them to speak. And if you get mad, you just get mad. But we're not going to spend all day here arguing about closing schools or not closing schools. We're not here for that. Okay, you can say it's a part of the capital plan all you want, but you ain't discussing it.
Okay, well, my constituents will.
So let them do it.
And they'll be making decisions at the polls.
Thank you. All right. All right.
All right,
Reverend Lee is here.
We got a custodian.
Brother Hodge just came in. Brother Cruz just came in. So give me a minute to put y'all in while he opens it and starts.
all right, we need the attendance first, and then we'll take Richard Ortiz, co-chair of budget for the 135th district.
Councilman Newton, co-chair.
136, Fred Hodges, committee member.
Maria Pereira, non-committee member.
Fred Castillo, committee member, 136.
Galen Murray, non-committee member, 130th.
Edward Brad, D, committee member,
Thank you.
George Cruz, 131st district, non-committee member.
Dr. Sproul, 132nd, non-committee. Anita Martinez, 139.
Ivy Yeaman, 137th committee member.
We're also joined by Councilwoman Reyes is here. Anyone not here yet, I hope they did it.
Okay. All right, so good morning to all of you again. So we want to start again. Well, you got exhibit the 2. I need exhibit
I made a motion for FinCom to exhibit these 2 items that we have before us. First one, the City of Bridgeport Financial Budget Presentation 2026-2027 as 04-252026A.
Okay, motion, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Again, none?
The next one,
Hold on, Councilman Chair. The date on this says April 27th. Should we amend it to April 25th?
Yep. Yes.
Is the first typo,
Yeah, and I'm gonna find a whole lot.
thank you. I also, in that motion that we correct the date to April 25th, 2026. 25.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again? You have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There seems to be a problem with this handout. It has 7 of the exact same pages attached.
We
Are we
haven't gotten
missing?
to that one yet, Maria.
I know.
Let us get to it.
We'll get those when we get to that part.
When we get the
Are we
motions
missing
on.
pages?
A motion is on the floor
On this one.
on this one. This one comes up next, the one that you have questions on.
This is what we do first.
Everybody didn't say, he didn't announce it, he didn't announce it yet. He didn't allow me to announce it.
I haven't done the second one yet. Now, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we accept exhibit Office of the Tax Collector, City of Bridgeport, as 04/25/2026 B.
Okay, second. All in favor? All against?
Now you get
Okay, now you can ask your question.
Okay, the one you just exhibited, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 of the exact same page attached to the cover letter. What I wanna make sure is, are we missing any pages? And this was collated
No,
improperly.
that is correct, we apparently just collated incorrectly. We want to make sure you had enough to read it.
Okay, Maria, you got the answer on.
Okay, I was worried we might be
Whose
missing
error was
something.
that?
It was
Ken,
there for emphasis.
Ken, whose error was that?
I love my
Probably
phone,
you.
but-
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, Candace, get your presentation.
Okay, I didn't have a chance to introduce, I'm Ken Plato, Director of Finance OPM. I think you want to go up, you want, just have people introduce themselves, and let me see where I start, we just go around.
Go ahead, Ken, introduce yourself.
Lisa Farlow, purchasing, Julie Miller, assessor, Bill Gaffney, assessors, Constance Vickers, mayor's office, Jen Spain, tax office, Kenesha McDonald, accounting controller's office, Jamie McCarville, Jorge Garcia, board of ed. Did we get everybody? And Anthony Paoletta, mayor's office. Okay, good morning, everybody. So I just want to do a quick overview, because I know you want to get into the book, and we have a lot to do today. Just created a little PowerPoint, just summarizing some of the key controller metrics and goals and personnel summaries. And we have Ashley Aguilera here, the legislative liaison. No, we didn't introduce ourselves, so we're just excluding it. The finance department has 6 divisions, and in those divisions, we have a total of approximately 51 personnel. And that is lower, as I always like to compare to 10 years ago. That is 6 positions lower than 10 years ago. I know it sounds like a lot, but when you consider the fact that we have the assessors division, the controllers division, the print shop, the purchasing division, our accounting and controllers divisions, the treasury division, accounts payable, central payroll, and the munis coordination. There's a lot of work that goes through the finance department. Basically, anything that's a number gets involved with finance and accounting. All the revenues of the city get posted by the finance department, while departments start entering their receipts and fees and things like that. Everything gets reviewed and posted in finance for reconciling to the actual bank, because no matter what somebody puts in their department records, unless it's in the bank, we can't record it officially. So we have to reconcile every transaction of the city that goes into the bank in the form of revenue or cash. And similarly with expenses, every bill that gets paid through finance processes through purchasing or payroll, then comes down through central finance where the checks are actually issued, and treasury does all the banking. So I just did a little breakdown on the page number 3, that's labeled page 3. Being facetious, I didn't label my pages, but you'll see a little bar chart that lists the various titles and key positions in each of the units. We have 13 positions in the tax collector's office, which has more activity in terms of the public and in terms of customers and citizens. It has the most activity in the city in terms of how many people every day go into the tax office for various reasons. We have 9 positions in the assessors division, and that includes 3 appraisers that go throughout the city trying to find all the changes in construction around the city. Includes our 2, our assessor and deputy assessor, and 4 clerks, and the clerks handle all the public business. The assessor's office handles everything from senior tax relief to what we call income and expense statements, which every business has to provide on a regular basis annually, which kind of summarizes all their business activity, because for commercial properties, assessments are somewhat based on actual income and expenses, not just on the value of the building. We have our print shop, that includes the mailroom. There are two people that handle all the city's mail that comes into the city and Board of Ed, one in one building, one in 999, and then there are 3 positions in the print shop. I want to emphasize that the print shop, the controller's division, and the purchasing division does all the work of the Board of Finance. It is not just through the city. So every check that gets cut, every payroll transaction that comes to the city, every bill that gets paid for the Board of Ed is paid by us. Now, we do have, in purchasing and in accounts payable, we have 1.5, we have 1 position in purchasing who handles all that prep work on, reviewing and approving purchase orders. But then it gets through central purchasing and gets approved by the director. Similarly, in accounts payable, we have a half a position, we just have our CAO come in, Tom Goodette, welcome Tom. We have a half a position, and that position only handles nutrition. So the city staff is doing all of the Board of Ed bill payments, in addition to the city's regular payments. So you're talking 4 people that are doing all the city's bills and payments and invoice approvals, which is a lot. In the finance and controllers area, we have a total of about 19 people. That includes 3 people in the treasury and banking unit that handles all the banking of the city, all the check writing of the city, all the issuance of checks, printing of checks, reconciling of the amounts that come in from payroll and from accounts payable. They then have to do a process, to then approve the warrants that get to the bank to pay all the bills and all the payroll. We have, like I said, 5 people in accounts payable, and then the other 8 people are in our accounting and internal audit, and a central payroll manager, and a central munis manager, and myself, and my assistant Dee. Sorry, I should mention names. So that's a summary of the positions in the department. Kind of similar to last year, I just wanted to give you a little summary of some of the key metrics in terms of our improvement on performance. Our general fund balance now is almost 9% of budget, which I wouldn't go into the history, but that's a pretty healthy level of rainy day fund balance, approximately $59 million as of this year. That was up about $4.5 million from the year before. For this 3rd year in a row, we did have no findings in our annual audit report that the Budget and Appropriations Committee received in February from our outside auditors, Clifton Larson. Tax collections remain solid in the assessor's office, and even though the bills get sent by tax in the assessor's office, as you know, we have a new program on trying to identify vehicles that should be taxed, and there are 9 pages copying a summary of the results through March for that program, because I know that came up at a meeting a few months ago, and Bill Gaffney, our assessor's here, and he could address any questions on that with me. Our grant list grew, as you know, in a significant way, from about $8 billion to $13 billion. And our 2025 revaluation required by the state every 5 years has been completed. The city, as I said last year, has received bond upgrades from all 3 rating agencies. It took a few years to get the 3rd one, but we have all 3 that upgraded our city finances to an A level or an A+ level from an A, BAA level, which is good news. I'd love to be a AA one day, but it would take some more rainy day funds and some more work on our pension funds probably to be able to get to another level on our rating. We do fund our
What was that rating level? Was that
so S&P and Moody's, S&P is at A+, and Moody's and Fitch are at A. On our pension plans and internal service fund, which is the health insurance fund of the city, we try to keep that in the green, as you know. It's very difficult because the largest pension plan of the city, except for the state MERS plan, so all the current employees are in the state pension, municipal pension plan. But all older retirees and retirees prior to about 2015 are in city pension plans that the city police commission, fire commission, and the city Plan A commission manage all the investments for those plans There are, I believe, about 800 retirees in those three plans, and the oldest of the plans, ever since the 1990s, unfortunately, has been very underfunded. So we call it Plan A. The retirees are all police and firefighter retirees. The average age of those retirees now is about 83 years old, but with surviving spouses and everything, the average age is more like 78 in that plan. But it is difficult for us because that plan spends more per year on the retiree payments than it takes in. You'd have to earn about 15% a year in investments in that plan to break even with the amount we pay the retirees. And one reason for that is the old contracts require the same COLAs to be given to retirees 100% of what the actives get. And so, 3% a year, every year, if you've had a pension for 40 years, it's not the same pension when you're retired. It's a fairly current pension at much higher levels, if you've been earning 3% every year for 40 years. So that plan is almost underfunded. On the Plan B plans, the police and fire Plan B, which are more kind of retirees that are 60, 70, some 80-year-olds, but those plans are almost 100% funded. The fire plan is literally about 99% funded. The police plan is about 88% funded. And nationally, those are good funding levels. Nationally, the average in municipal plans is like a 50, 60% funding level. So pensions is an issue all around the country. We've expanded, to some extent, departmental responsibilities. We had to take in all the lease billing for all the various revenue leases of the city about a year ago that our deputy manager, chief accountant, commissioner, that's right, I don't mention names, sorry, that our controllers unit handles. We also have handled any of the new revenue streams, whether it's opioid funding, NIPS funding, the bottle redemption fees. There are 3 or 4 other categories, but we now collect all those fees for leases, whether it's a skating rink or whether it's the arena or whatever it might come from. They all come to the central office now because there were some issues in our departments getting behind in booking all their parks leases, things like that. We've also handled all the utility. Used to be at facilities years ago. I've been handling personally all the utility contracts for the city because of the amount of money that's involved and because of the need to negotiate and bid those out. And I've worked with a regional consortium. I am pleased to say that the results have been really, really good. Our utility contract is still, we locked into a 4-year contract 2 years ago. And so our rates on our city buildings for all the lights and energy is about 20–25% lower than it would have been had we done a year contract. So we've been very fortunate. We kind of predicted rates were going to go up, and we locked into rates 2.5 years ago. That goes until December of '27. Turning to the next page, in terms of our budgets, very, very little change. We're not asking for any new personnel. Our non-personnel spending is pretty steady. We actually are down a little bit, but not in reality. The reason we're down in spending is because the revaluation is completed, and as you know, we had the budget of $500,000 a year for the revaluation cost because of the full revaluation that the city had to do, and we've dropped that down by over $400,000 because that's completed. But we did have to leave a little money because of all the tax appeals that are now being generated that our assessor's office, along with the outside attorney and the expert firm that has to testify, obviously going to have to go to court or settle or whatever they're going to do with those tax appeals, which is a 2-year process. We also have the new motor vehicle tax collection program that I'll just say to the end for 2 minutes, or maybe I'll wait till questions come up because I know a few of you had questions on that. And we did receive another annual award from the GFOA for the annual audit and the financial statements presentation. In terms of the workload, the next page has rough numbers on all the various transactions, but you can see there's a lot of paper and a lot of electronic transactions that go through our department. Whether it's the payroll, the accounts payable, purchase orders, all the cash receipts of the city, the bonding that we do, and a lot of paper. We have to, for various reasons, even though we're trying to go electronic as much as possible, there are certain things from an audit requirement and everything else that really still has to be in paper. So for example, invoices. We need to make sure the right people are approving the invoices. And there's 3 levels of approval through the departments and then through purchasing. And so, to have a stamp on an invoice doesn't work for us. We want to have an actual signature and kind of proof as to who looked at it. And, for better or for worse, some managers don't tend to take a lot of time on that. And so we often have to send them back if we think there's something wrong with the invoice, if there's not enough documentation describing what the invoice is for. And that's kind of a summary. Our tax collector and assessor were nice enough to do a 1-page summary as to some of the items in their office, and I asked them in particular to write up a little summary, mainly because this really is a year where I know you're focusing on the mill rate, focusing on the grand list, and so I just wanted them to give you a sense of how their process works, just in a quick and dirty, and some of the things they do. We do other supplemental things, such as do the processing for the downtown services district, all the pilot agreements. The assessor's office, like I said, is in charge of the motor vehicle program, trying to identify cars that should be out there. They handle all senior tax relief, veterans, disabled resident tax relief, all business equipment. So there's certain categories of property that are required to be assessed if they're large pieces of property, whether it's a gasoline pump or a medical machine in the doctor's office, or large pieces of equipment. Companies, hundreds and hundreds of companies have to send those lists in. The assessor's office has to review all those lists and make sure that they're assessed properly. And then the last page that unfortunately on some of them is copied 9 times. On mine is only copied once.
But you don't need this at all, the separate thing, it's already here.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I probably brought the extra document by mistake, that's what happened. On the motor vehicle assessment program, just in rough terms, there have been about 1,200 cars which have been deemed to be Bridgeport related cars. Of that, about 800 have been added to the grand list. There are still this is through March, so it is a month behind, but it takes 2 to 4 months from the time that they think there's a car in Bridgeport to the time they can then pass it to the assessor, because they have to have an appeal period, they have to send a letter to the customer, to the citizen, and they have to have 30 days, and then they have to review what they're saying. So it takes a few months to then get it to the assessor. The assessor then has to determine the amount the car is worth and add it to the grand list. That takes a little time for their office, and then they submit that list monthly to the tax collector, and the tax collector sends the bill, and then they have 30 days or 60 days?
30 days.
30 days to then pay that bill. So the process from when a car really gets identified to when the money comes in is really usually about a 6-month period altogether. And that's one of the reasons why the collections are really as high as they will be or should be once all the stuff gets put in the system. And that's a little longer than I was going to do.
Yeah.
If it's okay, I'll just do 2 more minutes.
No.
A couple of things on the pages, so I can just open it up for Q&A.
No, we're gonna open it up. Okay.
So,
I had a couple questions for you, Ken.
okay.
My thing, the assistants in, the auditor, the internal auditor, you jumped that up 5,984.
I'm sorry, what page are we on?
Right,
We on
so,
page 52.
Okay.
thank you. Yes, so half of that, or almost a good chunk of it is just the regular COLA with the budget. There also is a $3,000 supplemental increase because the person was at the lowest end of the range. The person's been there now 7 years, and I felt that I should give a little bit of a bump in the range because they are an affiliate, but they have been working a lot on a lot of different things. And so, yes, there is a couple $1,000s extra potentially for that person, but it's modest, it's a couple $1,000.
That's the next question.
Yeah.
No loss on that one, that's all. And then my other question, sorry, is your deputy director that you added on?
Thank you. So that's actually the same position and the same person. What happened was the finance linkage to the title was in the finance division, but the old title was in the controller division. So you'll see on page, sorry. So on page 47, you'll see a chief accountant that is no longer funded because it's the same position as the deputy, finance, deputy director of management and finance. The deputy director position, there's two different levels. This is there's a formal deputy director for the whole department. That was unfunded 10 years ago. I have not ever filled that position since it was unfunded. This position, because of the scope of work that the chief accountant supervises and the expanded supervision that person has had, she was promoted to deputy finance management director, which is kind of about a $10,000 increase.
10,000, a little higher than that.
No,
Well,
more than
it's
10,000.
plus the living, plus that.
19,000.
So,
Yeah.
19?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're going from
Might have been about
106
15,000.
106 to 124.5.
But part of it is plus the living, and part of it is the increase that is very, this person has been working probably 45 to 50 hours a week. The position, like I said, has been expanded a little bit in terms of both reviewing all the leases, the outside overtime, which kind of had a person who was in the office. That position's been empty for a year. We're trying to right-size that position. We're trying to figure out whether or not we need a full position for that. So we are doing a bit of restructuring in the controllers unit, but there has been a bit of promotion for that one position.
Well,
And that was done about 6 months ago.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you, I don't like that at all, even when you go further than the code, it's only 3%. Okay.
But I will say that in total, we're down about 100,000 in personnel spending. So part of it was just the workload and responsibilities and, I mean, normally people would agree with, but this was worked out in a collaborative way. It's a very important position, but they have expanded their responsibilities, and they're pretty key.
It came, our printing company, do we generate any revenue from our printing, people that do the printing? Do we generate any revenue from outside people using it? I don't know if they're still letting outside people use it.
So,
Help me understand, because you never say that we're generating any revenue, and I know we go through a lot of paper that the city gotta buy. So help me, do we generate any?
So we really have reduced and basically cut out the outside printing. There's almost nobody who come. There used to be a number of nonprofit organizations. Some of them were nonprofit. It turned out some were nonprofit, and it basically kind of made a policy that was much stricter about how that would work. So there were very few people that now come in and ask for help other than town officials, city officials, and board of ed officials. So there really is very little revenue collected. I think $5,000–10,000 a year, but it gets credited. So the revenue only basically covers the cost. So we charge a little markup for the paper, and a lot of charge for labor. And so it really, in my opinion, we shouldn't be doing it because, the city was losing money from it, really, because the labor wasn't being charged.
Okay. Revenue.
I was thinking the same thing about printing. We have a printing machine, we have a printing machine in our office too, right? We have a printing machine in our office. If you do it, in our budget, do we have, money for the printing machine in our office?
So
Okay, so it seems to me like going back to what, I see, printed here on the street here, it seems to me like a minimum amount of printing should be done, as far as the personal office is concerned, because of the fact that, my personal opinion now, I don't think that printing on our machine should be printed for us to be, when you frowning at your mama.
Come on, mama, I'm looking at you.
I know.
Where you talking?
I'm just.
Gee whiz, I ain't gonna even look at you no more.
Come on.
Okay, I won't say nothing else to you, Fredo, okay? What I'm saying is that, if we doing personal work on that machine, we should not be doing that, you know what I mean? If the city gotta pay for it, that's what I'm trying to say, okay? That's all I'm gonna say about that. But the other thing is, when it comes down to Munich, I see that it's for the Board of Ed and city.
Correct.
Is Munich in the Board of Ed, budget too?
So the Board of Ed did used to pay a lot of money for part of our financial units when there was a shared agreement that the Board of Ed terminated about, 9 years ago, and those overhead charges disappeared. So the city absorbed the cost of that. So the units costs, I think it's around $300,000 a year, something like that, and the city pays that software, all those costs, and the work on Munis and all the coding in Munis and security settings and all that is done by the city, and we do it for the Board of Ed.
Okay, so then we not in the Board of Ed, budget.
So it's not something the Board of Ed pays for, correct? The city overhead the city's budget pays for that. On the print shop, by the way, just briefly, the print manager couldn't be here because of some sports conflicts with his kids, I apologize for that. But the print shop does all the large, heavy printing, not the regular stuff that the offices do through their Xerox machines or whatever type of copiers they have, but all the major printing, parts, permits, all the periodicals that go out, newsletters from the Board of Ed, all those things go through the print shop.
Okay, yeah, because, getting back to the printing, I was thinking that if I took all of my church work down to the printer's office, in the office there, we all had to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes personally, it shouldn't be done in that. Because some of us work all day, so we can't spend the whole day down there printing stuff that, whatever. So, that's all I have to say about that. I just want to know how much we are paying for personal work in that office.
None. And again, a couple of nonprofits, I believe, like the credit union, I think,
I'll just
comes
use
in,
the church
but
for
very
an
few.
example, I'll talk about people that, putting suits against us and all that, carrying all this stuff. Shouldn't be done in that office. I shouldn't pay nobody to sue me,
Correct.
Okay.
You all set, Rich? You all set, Rich?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. Anita?
I have a few questions, so you might need to put me down for another round. So, in listening to Ken talk about, handling the city, you mentioned the city leases. So, we have a staff member that does that. Handles the city property, city leases, city sales, city reviews, city controls, we have someone that does that, so how is that?
Okay, that's a fair question. So what I was trying to explain is we handle all the financial aspects of it, all the collection aspects of it. So we don't manage writing the leases or negotiating leases. I mean, I get involved sometimes if they need me, but that is handled by other people, whether it's, the person working on those leases or it's the attorney's office. But all the work on billing, monthly, getting monthly rents paid, all of that work is now handled by us. There's about 50 revenue leases of various types, and that used to be in each department. And now because of things getting behind and not collected properly, we bill them all, send invoices out now, and collect monthly. So that's why I meant it up.
So what line,
Can you give us a copy of that, please?
Copy.
Of the leases that you have?
Sure.
Thank you.
mhm.
All right, go ahead.
There's a bunch.
I wanna know what line item you have that listed under.
So the work is just been absorbed by our.
No, the collection
Oh,
of
okay.
all that
So
profit
the-
that is coming
right.
into the city. What line item you have listed under?
So each lease has a separate line item, so it depends on the department, so whether it's the amphitheater, when we do, some of you recall when I do the monthly reports, questions come up about the parking rent, or the amphitheater rent, or the Wonderland rent, or rent from the guy who rents the house at the golf course, and just a small example. So all those are in the book under the department that the function is is negotiated by. So if it's a parks lease, because parks, we don't initiate leases, it would be in the Parks Department revenue. If it's an OPED lease, it should be in the, either in the OPED section or in the controllers section. Some of them are under the controllers. OPM set those lines up, Nestor used to set those lines up. I don't know why they were assigned where they were assigned, but that's the way it was done. So they're spread out through the budget book.
So my recommendation for, because it's so late for this budget cycle, and we're almost at the end, my recommendation for next year is that these line items be broken down by leases, by company, so that we know what revenue is coming in from each lease that the city of Bridgeport is responsible for. Because chunking this into one group does not show us who's bringing in what revenue, what expenses are going out of that particular location. I go on and on, but I'm gonna stop right there.
Okay.
My next, okay, you got me down?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
enough.
all right.
Got it.
I have,
Okay. Oh, just making sure that you want me to. I'll come back to you. Maria?
okay, I'm on page 52 of the budget book. So we know you just explained that you're taking a position from the comptroller's office. You're increasing their salary by 17% in total, because it's 106 in the comptroller's office, and this is why, when we switch from departments to departments, you're moving people around. It's 106 on the comptroller's page, and you wanna pay them 124, which is a 17%.
We are paying the 124. This was done 6 months ago. And this is a reclass that was approved by everybody, just like every other department does reclasses from time to time, or promotes somebody from time to time. That's an administrative prerogative. It was within the budgeted dollars, because we reduced dollars elsewhere. So, it's nothing that unusual. Yes, there was a promotion for this individual. The work expanded, the responsibilities expanded, and the cost of living is about 5,000 of this, right? 4,000. So
Well-
the increase was about 13.
I'm just gonna say, the average person in Bridgeport doesn't understand or will accept a $19,000 salary increase. I'm just saying, not my concern, I'm gonna speak for mine. Number two is, I'd like to go to page 53. If you're only adding one other person here, right, compared to last year, why is the health insurance going up 52% by adding one person? And the pension, Murph pension, is going up 30% by adding one more person into the department. 52%, one person, and I know you have other health, everybody's got a health insurance, but 52%?
So again, the position was just moved from controller division to finance division, so it's not new. It's a different title, but it is the same position, and it should have been reflected in the controllers division, so you would have understood a little better in terms of the numbers. But if you look at the controllers division, the health insurance went down 50,000. So it's up 60,000 in this division, down 50 in the other. The net is $10,000 out of a total of about a $400,000 health insurance line between the two divisions, which is just the health insurance increase.
So one employee is costing over $50,000 one for health insurance?
I forget what the rate is for families. It's a family plan. If somebody's a single individual, there's a certain amount in the budget that gets charged. If they're a couple, there's a certain amount in the budget that gets charged. If they're a family, there's a certain amount of the budget gets charged. Health insurance, yes, is very expensive. The employees pay on average 25 to 30% of the cost of our health insurance, which is the highest percentage in the state that employees pay as a share of their pay. But yes, health insurance is costing the city about $40 million a year. And health insurance is costing the Board of Ed about $45 million a year. It's a
Okay,
lot of money.
and my final question is about this table that everybody has multiple types.
So that makes it,
That's the new question.
Okay, I'll wait for the next turn.
thank you,
Okay.
appreciate that.
And by the way, excuse me, with the MRF, there are some units, so our MRF bills came in more expensive than the budget last year. And so we did have to modify MRF lines in a number of the budgets, a little more than just the rate increase, because
All right.
the costs of the.
Yeah, co-chair, I owe Wilfredo an apology, and I want to apologize that I offended him. I was called, I'm not good at teasing. So I wouldn't say that to be nasty to Wilfredo, I would call myself I only tease with people that I really know. So if we accept my apology.
Can we talk outside?
Come and give it a hug.
No,
I said I want to apologize. That's all.
All right, okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
All right, Galen?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to look at page, 46, line 41513, the revenue from the cannabis sales tax. You have $400,000 allocated, but as of February, we only had $127,000 collected. So do you really think that's a reasonable projection?
Well, we got over 320 last year.
Yeah.
There is a couple of month lag from the month that they, the customers come in to when we get the checks. And the city's financial policy is a 60-day look back. So if something's collected in June, we don't get it until August, we book it back to June, so there's always a lag. The reason I increased that budget forecast is my belief that there'll be another facility bringing monies in. I'm hoping, that's what I've been told, but
Where is that facility?
some of you may know better than me, I'm not sure. I'll have to get the info.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate
That's
it.
it?
Yep, that's all.
Okay. Anita?
Okay. Contracts. We talked about, revenue coming in for,
What page?
I'm
Oh, you're
going
talking
off
general.
of what he was,
Okay.
off
Oh,
of his,
okay.
Yeah.
off of this packet. The city should be able to receive more revenue, but our contracts that are currently in place are totally outdated. So I'm putting that on the table because we need to revisit these contracts. The finance department brings these contracts before us to propose them to our contracts committee, to contract members who sit here. We really need to revisit these contracts. The revenue on these contracts are below what we should be receiving. And I project an increase in revenue if we update these contracts, which are outdated RFP wise. Okay, my second question, can you put me down for another round, please? We talked about utilities. How do we monitor the utilities here in the city of Bridgeport, especially for locations? We're paying utilities, but locations that utilities are out, but we're still paying for them. And I'll use my district as an example. We have a strip of locations in our district that there's no lighting. So how do we pay that bill when the services are not being rendered?
Well, electricity is based on kilowatt hours used, so hopefully if the light is out, there's no kilowatt hours being charged by UI.
My question is, who's monitoring that
So
though?
facilities has a full-time position that manages the utility bills, but, in all frankness, most of their work is looking at the dollars of the bills, not operationally, how much lights are on in the building, or is the light working. I'd have to ask facilities if they have anybody who tries to monitor, is something working properly? That I honestly don't know the answer to.
And the reason I state that is because we're pouring out a lieu of monies and payments when we're not getting the services. So we have to monitor that type of stuff, and then I'll just wait for my next round. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, can we look at page 55, please? I just want to know if I'm understanding this properly. Are we saying that we have $880 million in debt, and that equates to $6,000 of debt per person?
In rough terms, I mean, it's a rounded number. You know, we have 140,000, approximately, a population of about 150,000, and per person, it's 800 million. It's a lot of money. Our debt levels, as I've told the committee many times, our debt levels frankly are very high, higher than the average city. One of the reasons I think we need a good rainy day fund is because we do have so many obligations that are fixed. Now, part of that will improve when the pension bonds are paid off that was issued 25 years ago, you know, which is a good chunk of our debt. But yes, our debt, our total debt per capita is very high.
I would tell you that the average resident in Bridgeport, if you tell them this, will be terrified of that. So anyway, but I'd like to ask a question about this this table,
Okay.
okay?
Second question.
Yep, so I wanna understand this properly, because I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry, okay.
What page are you talking about?
Well, there's no page numbers, okay, which you know is my pet peeve.
It's the last page of the, last
It
page of
is,
the
it's my
PowerPoint.
pet peeve, okay?
It has to do with the motor vehicle tax program.
Okay, now, so we started this, I think we approved this, when did they start? July, right? Am I correct?
Approximately.
July, okay, so we're not even at a year yet. So you're saying that 1,276 cars to date have been determined that they should be registered in Bridgeport. You've added 832 of them. I don't know what vehicles with more than one tax year added to GL grand list? Okay, and total taxes that you billed has been 241. The total taxes that have paid on the 240 is 96.8. And of the 96.8, the contractor got 33,457. This is a new table, so I just want to understand it. And so that means that we have literally clear profit, because they only get paid a percentage of what we put on the rolls and we collect, is that correct?
So
Can you explain that?
yeah, just briefly, I believe I had them work it that the payments are actually the payments after the fees. So it was about 100, and the tax collector help me
So
out
the
on
amount,
about that.
excuse me,
But I
the
believe-
amount paid back to CTR is after the city has collected
So-
the 40% that goes back
So-
to them.
So billed was about 125. In other words, the billings do include the fees, but the payments are broken out, what the city kept and what the firm got.
So in just like 6, 7 months, whatever, really, because they have to get off the ground, you're saying we cleared 100 grand after we paid all the bills. So we have netted $100,000 in new
I
taxes.
mean, the budget, we're hoping to net per year about 750,000, so.
Okay. I just have one more follow-up, so can I just have one more round?
And just a quick.
On this.
Maria, just to clarify one thing, because the question was asked, on the column it says more than 1 year. I don't know if you want, Mr.
Where's
Gaffney. The 405. I don't know if Mr. Gaffney, so they can, the assessor can bill more than 1 year if they believe the car was here
3 years.
up to 3 years.
Alfredo can further explain.
Anyway,
Don't want to punch in the face, man. Get out of here.
calm down. All right, Nita,
All right. No, we can't exhaust.
That was with love.
Okay, Ken,
Yes,
going
ma'am.
back to contracts.
You see how she is?
Our booting contract is totally outdated.
George, me and you.
Tax booting contract.
I think the whole.
Okay, it expires in 2027, I'm sorry. No, that's not what I was gonna say. Rich checked on that. What I was gonna say is that I don't believe that the booting contract is holding its standards according to the contract. There should be more booting done here in the city of Bridgeport for more revenue to be coming in. And I don't know who controls the booting, how it's done, how the process goes. But I believe that the company should do more booting than They do, because I believe that the revenue that should be coming in should be more than what we're receiving.
So if the tax collector, tell me for a minute, the booting is done seasonally and it's partly based on, you can't boot until bills are overdue a certain amount of time. And we also have kind of thresholds, so we don't wanna, if somebody only owes $80,
So-
I forget the amount, but.
So the council
Thank you,
agreed that it was a 150 threshold, so anything delinquent over $150 is booted. The booting company, so we run a file at night, so we do a 10-year gap. So right now, we're booting anything from 2014 to 2023. The 24s will go on once we put the warrants on the bills. We cannot boot anything if a warrant is not put on the bill. Those warrants will be put on by the end of this month, so then the grand list 24, which has become delinquent as of February 1st of 2026, will then become, we will be able to boot on that grand list. I don't know if this is company standard or city standard. The company only boots 30 cars a night.
I didn't know. And just through the chair, as some of you recall, our former tax collector retired, and our new tax collector is doing a marvelous job. Or I should say, she's been part of the office quite a while, but our now promoted to tax collector is doing a marvelous job.
My last thing is, did I do two? No.
No, that's
Okay.
what you said.
The last one is, I'm gonna echo off of what my council colleague Maria Pereira stated. I think that, this out-of-state, a plate investigation, I'm gonna say, is a poor contract. I don't think it's bringing the revenue that we thought when we negotiated this contract, to the city. I don't see the efforts, the good efforts that it's doing here in the city, and I'm gonna say to you why. And perhaps it has been taken care of, and it may have not, but in my district specifically, since this kicked off last year, I've submitted a lieu of vehicle right in the circle that I live in. And I still see those vehicles with Virginia plates, Florida plates, North Carolina plates. It's increasing tremendously. I mean, on Bishop Avenue, we have about 10 cars with Massachusetts plates, Nevada plates, Maine plates, Wisconsin plates. I don't think that the 40% that is being paid for this is bringing in a tremendous revenue to the city. I think we're taking a big hit and a loss on this contract. I just wanted to state that. And, is that my last round?
Yeah.
Oh, can I just finish, please?
Go ahead.
And I think that, Ken, you really should look into updating your software in your tax collector's office. It is extremely outdated. I think that there should be a software that you should look into where it merges the city, DMV, and your parking, and it'll cut down on redundant of what the staff does in that department. And let me just be politically correct. Jennifer Spain is my daughter, but when I question her to share stuff with me, she tells me she's not political and I have to do my own homework. So I've been doing my investigation, and your software is totally outdated, and so is your online software. Thank you.
All right.
So just quickly, the chair, the QDS software is used by, I think, 160 out of 169 communities in the state. It's almost like a monopoly. And to my knowledge, there isn't any out there that's comparable, but I'm not an expert in that, but I do know that they are used by almost all. And then just the other small thing, which on the motor vehicle program, just do keep in mind, all the work investigative is being done by the company that's absorbing those costs. They had to hire people to go out and do the scams. They're doing all the investigative work. They're having to check all the out-of-state, information. The city, and Bill, if I'm wrong, correct me, the city can't require somebody to change their license. Like, we have no authority to do that. But once we report it, I believe it goes to the state, right? In other words, once,
The state gives you 90 days. Once it's reported, you got 90 days to sit there and change your plate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That is required.
But that's not necessarily happening.
Correct.
I mean, maybe we can talk to state DMV about whether we can report them to the state to try to, have the state do something about
They-
where they're registered.
Years and years ago, they had investigators, DMV had investigators that came in every town. They went out and did a great job. Obviously, the state doesn't do anything for the cities anymore, other than take money away. That's everywhere. And they've gone away. So that's why in this case, we didn't have to hire this company. But knowing what's going on in Bridgeport, and anywhere, I have them in Shelton too, I've hired them. And Danbury's collecting millions. So just give us time, and you're gonna see this. Because as long as we're not, if the people aren't paying, we can't help. Then they have to go, I don't know what you do about that, but the bills are out there. It's just gonna take a long time.
Yeah,
Reverend Lee,
sometimes when I, go in my neighborhood and see cars with out-of-state, tag, first thing I wanna know is that house is, owned by someone that's renting that house to students, especially Sacred Heart students. And most of the town, I don't know about that end of town, but I know in my end of town, some of those cars are owned by these students that come from other places, and they be nice cars too. So I don't know what to do about that. But, and the other thing I would like to say about the booty, I agree that there should be some penalty, for booty, but sometimes when you can't pay your taxes and your car is in your driveway, that car might be there because they're trying to get money to pay those high taxes in Bridgeport. That's what I'm saying. And then you got to pay for that booty, you got to pay for the towing, and then you got to pay for your back taxes. It seems to me like all of us.
That booty is expensive.
Yeah, that booty. Thank you, Joe. You got that right. And then the towing is expensive too. And then the longer you let it stay where your car is at, the more it is. It seems to me like, and I say it once and I say it twice, people that own something in Bridgeport is penalized for owning something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
If you own a house, you get nothing. You can't even get a 5-cent food stamp. Then if you own a car, if you don't pay, because sometimes, even though we work, sometimes we don't have any money to pay those bills. And then we pay for all the people that don't own a home and don't have cars, and that's it. So, I could be wrong, and I'm not teasing with that. Ernie, you trying to shut me up.
no, you're good.
No, you good.
All right, Rev.
I just feel like that booty is expensive, the taxes is expensive, and the towing is expensive. And before you can get your car off there, you got to pay all that money. So where you going to get it from? You didn't have it in the first place, where you going to get it from? I ain't gonna say nothing else.
Good. Okay. In this order, Newton, Maria, we're gonna end with Anita.
Yeah,
I just,
Heidi? Sorry, my bad, Heidi.
I just want,
Newton and Heidi.
for the record, Beverly, we're one of the lowest tax rate cities in Bridgeport, in Connecticut. Our mill rate is coming down,
Yeah, I know that.
so it puts us at one of the lowest in the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
So that myth about Bridgeport is the highest mill rate, the highest taxes, that's not true.
I didn't say that now.
So it's the lowest there, and we are gonna give the taxpayers something better, we're gonna give them park stickers. So now they ain't gotta pay that.
I already got one.
So I want to just set the record straight.
I didn't say that
No,
now.
I'm just saying we're the lowest mill rate, one of them.
Yep. Okay. Heidi, then Maria, then we end it with Anita.
Hold on, I'm
You
trying
got
to
somebody else that has.
Okay, one
Yeah,
second.
usually I wish through finance in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it off the cuff. Okay, so we're talking about dropping the mill rate to 27, talking about dropping the mill rate to 27 on cars, right? I'm trying to, here it is. Since we're talking about revenue and in finances, we're talking about car taxes and collecting car taxes.
Thank you.
If we drop the mill rate for the car tax to 27,
is the city gonna keep us whole because our mill rate for the car taxes is not at 32? It's now, I think it's 32 mils.
No.
So in essence, we will be losing the state aid. Am I right to understand that correctly?
So there is a year lag, but yes, so the state bases it off a grand list, but doesn't catch up for a year. But next year, the state subsidy, so to speak, because we're at high mill rate, it may not be there. There is some efforts, I
So
heard from
if
some
you're saying
legislators
it's
to
at a
try
lag,
to
right?
modify that, but right now, the hope is maybe we modify that, but we'll see.
How much is this thing?
Right now it's $9 million. So if we're not getting we're gonna get $9 million potentially this year because it doesn't,
Correct.
because it doesn't affect, because it's a year behind. So in essence, the next year, as we build the 27 mil this year, we've already opened up a gap for ourselves as a municipality.
That, if the law
And
doesn't
if
change, that's
we're
good.
giving, okay, I'm only saying this because we're talking about free park stickers,
No, no,
not,
no, you're
not,
correct.
not collecting enough taxes, and my concern is this. We're giving out free park stickers, people with out-of-state cars can still get a sticker for $20, but we've announced that we're tapping into that hole and taking it out of our budget assumptions for this year, without council approval.
Correct.
But, that's first off, and then we're talking about losing 9,000, and we're talking about giving the Board of Ed 9 million, and we're talking about giving another 5 million to the Board of Ed next year. So in essence, we're gonna be 9 plus $14 million, looking for $14 million next year, because we increased by 5 this year, MBR for 5 next year, so that's 10, plus another 9. That's a lot of money that we're doing in quote unquote assumptions, non-assumptions, because we're low. Ken, I'm a little leery about the car tax mill rate, and you've given it to us aggregated out on our 2025 on this one, on the two sheets. So we're giving free park stickers, we're losing that revenue, which I was told is about 100 grand. 100 grand park stickers we're losing?
It's more like 250.
250? 250. So we're talking about 250 that we're giving up for next year. We're also gonna be giving up possibly $9 million for the, not next year, but the preceding year, the following year, 28. We may lose state aid 28, if they don't change it in the legislature. So, and then this year, and then next year, it's $5 million, because that's what the mayor wants to do, 5 this year, 5 next year. The council wants to do what? I don't know what the council wants to do. What does the budget committee want? What do the chairs want to give to the Board of Ed this year?
We haven't even said.
We haven't
now
decided
talked
that.
to that yet.
That's
So there's
it,
no
that's,
number.
that is
So that's my
his-
question.
That
If
is
we're-
his
The question
proposal.
is, no, this is the question, and I say this because we need to be aware of this when we're talking car taxes, park stickers, booting and all of these things, and to Anita's point, contracts and stuff, and are we making money? I think we are making really good money so far on the car bill thing, because my cousin got hers and she couldn't register her new car from Carfax until she paid all her taxes, so thank you, Jennifer, for making that happen. Because she finally understood it. But, not Jennifer, my cousin, but anyway, it's working, it's making people pay their taxes. Because her husband had a car here for 3 years, I've been telling him to register it, they dinged him and he had to pay 2 years of back taxes, so that's really good. We need to generate the revenue, we're giving out free, and we were talking about lowering the mill rate. Now, the mayor wants to lower the mill rate, is the council, is this committee considering to raising that car mill rate, right? And Galen and I talked about it, maybe a few days ago. So,
It's a
that's my question
discussion.
to you, Ken, are we losing $9 million in 2028?
So the short answer is probably, yes.
And how do we
in my-
make it up?
In my initial presentation the first night, and I apologize, I don't remember if everybody was there, but I did talk.
I watched the video again, but,
I did talk about this budget and the next budget have some real worries, there's no question about it. This year, we're fortunate because we're trying to do this big refinancing, but I can't do that 2 years in a row. Once I take that money, it's gonna help this budget coming, but it's not gonna be able to help a year from now. So, yes, there are some things in a year out, there's some things this year that we agonized about, how do we, we raised the attrition factor, we took some savings there. Next year's gonna be a tough, they're both tough budgets, but next year's gonna be very tough. I think the Board of Ed.
All right, then
is
move on
something-
your last question.
This is my last
because
question.
we're going like very
This is my last question, yeah, my last question. With that being said on the attrition line, talking about the book, it doesn't show the vacancies in the book at all. So we can see where the vacancies are. So this year, UNF, it goes for both vacancies and unfilled?
No, so
So,
again, I
and
didn't,
previously in the past,
Right,
we've been
correct.
able to look at the vacancies and remove the vacancies, but we don't even have that option this year.
so my predecessor in OPM, as you know, acting temporarily
I know.
serving,
That was my
made
fight
a
with it.
decision to put in a new software system, which has some really good components to it and good aspects, but one of the negative aspects is the columns were difficult to squeeze on the page, and the office made a decision prior to my being involved in it to take the vacancy column out. So to compensate for that, I did give the committee, and if it wasn't shared with everybody, we should, I did give them a list of all the
Yeah,
vacancies.
did we get the list on the vacancies?
Yeah,
So-
I have the list,
Okay.
but as we're going through the
All right.
budget,
It is harder to see.
it is hard to see the
Yeah, I know.
vacancies.
And I gotta tell it to you,
Aggregated up.
because I
Okay.
haven't.
I didn't see it.
Well, too bad.
Well, I think we should change that
All
next
right.
year, I think vacancies
All right.
should be back in the book.
Yeah.
First of all-
That's my personal opinion, but.
All right, Ken.
Okay, okay, I'm gonna say quickly that the plan for this year for park stickers is 625, and without, we approved revenue. We approved revenue expenditures, and we just announced, everybody get a free park sticker, and none of us, we weren't consulted as a body. So that 625,000, we're gonna see a significant, like, I don't know, 400 grand, because you're only planning 284 next year. So I'm totally opposed to that, and I've made myself clear, but I'd like to go back to this. So, this particular spreadsheet here on the cars, okay? And Ken, we talked about this at a previous meeting, and I'm raising this because there's already litigation starting over it. We have they're using license plate readers. And there was an undercover investigation where the Connecticut Examiner and Mirror found that 6 towns who had committed, they promised we're gonna share this stuff with DHS, and we're doing it. And so we brought this up to you at another meeting, Anita and I were bringing it up, that, are you sure these people aren't sharing, because there's lawsuits starting.
Right.
People are starting to sue towns for allowing those license plate reader companies to share their data with ICE and DHS, and they found 6 towns in Connecticut. And we raised this with you at a public safety meeting, and we asked you, have you reviewed this contract to make sure in no way, because that's gonna cost money. People start filing lawsuits against us. So I wanna know, did you ever do that?
The assessor assured me they're not, but I think we should get a letter from the company, since it's coming up again, certifying that they cannot, it's all proprietary info.
There's legislation now proposed, not yet passed, that addresses all of this, because that was something that came up. I will tell you 90% sure they are not giving Danny, but probably 99%
How did you know
are
that?
this company. Because he's not going to violate his contract with us by doing that.
All right.
He's
But
making-
Bill, I think we should get a letter from them.
I will.
Yeah, get a letter from them,
I'll-
that'd be fine.
I'll get it
Should-
Friday.
If
Stay-
something
All right.
happens, we need to be prepared.
Go ahead, Maria.
They can't
Anita,
without our
then Ernie,
permission.
we're gonna finish up. Ken, stop.
All right, Ken, on this page, which is part of your one package, your financial budget presentation. I don't know if this came from your office or the tax collector's office. Ordinance that mandates vendors to have all taxes up to date before receiving payment from the city. I think it's this, it's on the one packet, that Ken presented.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea, and I think we can make this happen. But, the city of Bridgeport does not follow ordinances accordingly. So I don't wanna continue to keep implementing ordinances to do things, and we ourselves don't do them. So how is this going to be beneficial to bring in the revenue drafting this ordinance? To mandate vendors to have all taxes up to date before receiving payment from the city. As we know, we've come before this budget with items of people that owe money. So putting ordinance in place, how is this gonna benefit the city of Bridgeport with revenue wise? Thank you.
And the short answer, I think it's an interesting idea that the collector suggested. We do, as you know, for people doing fees like coming in for a building fee, if they're behind, they're not able to get that permit. until they pay the taxes. So I think the idea was we could try to do the same on vendors that were paying, for services. How we'd implement it, I guess remains to be seen.
Okay.
But I know we try to honor following the ordinances on the books as best we can, the ones that we are involved in, but.
Yeah, all right, so Ernie's the last one, and we all said.
All right, you brought up some good issues today, but I want you all to look at it. I'm telling you this right now. We have a rainy day fund, and this is the mayor's proposed budget. You know what's gonna happen next year, we're gonna look at tapping into it. And I don't care what you all think, because we don't have a magic wand. What I'm listening to, we want to do something. And so, the mayor put his budget together, you already know where the landscape lands, we don't know what the legislature might do to try to help those towns and cities that are gonna be hurt just like we will, to cover that. But if they don't, you need to let the people know, and I know you don't like talking about it, but that's why you got it. If the legislature in Hartford, with billions of dollars, would tap into it, no municipality would have any problem. We don't have no guardrails, thank God. So I want y'all to think about it. That's why you have the rainy day fund, for situations that come up that you don't expect. So I know where we can find some money, and I'm not gonna be here. So that's what I wanted to throw out, so you better think about it. No, Ken don't like to talk about it, but that's why it's here.
All right.
And we're gonna talk about it.
All right, that's.
President, through the chair, just one last quick item, just a 10-second item, I promise. Because we were also supposed to.
No, you're your own worst enemy. I'm just saying that. You gotta be honest with you.
No, just so you don't criticize me later. I just wanted to mention on page 148, the OPM budget. I'm doing a bit of restructuring. We're saving about 40,000.
We are getting into that.
Oh,
That's okay, all right?
We have a
No,
very important question here.
what Ernie finished up, that's it,
That's it.
I
okay?
said it, she said.
I said that was the last one, Maria. I didn't go any further than
That's
that.
it.
Are we doing
On that
compo?
topic, no, we're going into OPM next.
We're on the OPM now.
We did compo?
We did it all.
You did it all, so that's it.
All right, thank you. Next,
thank you,
Board
folks.
of Ed.
You're
Capital plan.
more than happy to stay with you, but don't worry about it.
Yep, you can have them right outside now that you have.
As the group is going, if I can
Nope,
just acknowledge.
goodbye, Ken.
They know I'm in chief as anybody in the
Goodbye,
city.
Ken.
I do good things if it's really deserved.
Hey, let my boy ask.
Tom, that page was 650, covering it out in the parking fees.
Anything you want to throw out?
Remember we were talking about that, remember the
No, this is spent in the budget. It's appropriate. Yeah. This is only if we use it, if we go to use it.
Hold this right here.
Trash can. On the other
You don't know, right?
Yeah, no, it's all, I actually don't
Oh, no, that one's.
Because normally,
Yes, I can, it's a public meeting, I'm holding my sign. You can't tell me not to hold the sign.
You gonna be disrespectful?
I'm disrespectful?
I find it very disrespectful.
I think it's disrespectful that schools are being closed in my district without the residents
We're not
supporting
talking
it.
about being close, nothing.
Yes, it is. The East End-
Nobody's closing
I'm
nothing.
standing here with my sign, it's
If you wanna
the
sue,
First
everything you wanna
Amendment.
sue.
I am suing.
Linda, show it to the camera.
I am suing, sure, here, you want me to show it to the camera?
Yes.
Here we go.
Get a letter from our attorney.
Send me a letter, like I'm scared. No, no, you wanna disrespect my constituents, my students, my parents, property owners, no. Sit quietly. Presentation that was listened to.
We already had that check.
Why isn't it there?
No,
Why isn't it at 55?
no, I love it, but I ain't getting broke. That's all right.
So that's where he has the raising.
All right, hold on, we're gonna dip the, word at the.
And then I want to say something about he's not ready yet. We'll do this.
Well, I'll put you first on the list.
We're talking to the legislature about trying to get the authority to set up. The answer is yeah, right? So like, you know, I guess we can set a higher resident.
All right, we back in here, we're gonna exhibit this forehead.
I make a motion that we exhibit the Bridgeport Public School Building Operations for fiscal year 27 through 31 capital request.
Because that would be great for us.
04252026A.
All in favor?
Aye.
No. Oh, I get a, yeah, I get a move, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Still open.
All against? Hear none, see none, we're gonna move on.
So through the chair, I'm just gonna introduce this and then introduce George.
Because everybody, ain't nobody.
It's 1, 2, 3, oh, yeah.
We gotta fight.
Artificially set it high, so we don't.
All right, let's roll. Come on.
So I just want to mention one thing before I turn it over to Mr. Garcia. There is one small item that relates to school capital that I will be requesting the committee to make an amendment to the capital plan that was proposed by the mayor. One of our projects that was approved in 2023, the roof replacement for Reed School. The final amount, and I'm not sure why George can explain, but the final amount came in higher than budget. And so the city share of the Reed School roof, so I'm going to pass, I guess I'll have to exhibit this. Sorry, so.
Give me the next one. Give everybody a copy.
So while it's being passed out, through the chair, in the 2023 capital plan, there was a small project relating to the Reed School roof. And when the roof was being done and finished, the costs for that project ended up being higher than the
Then
original.
we shouldn't, it's not, we need to exhibit this. Is this what
Okay.
you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Is this something new? That's what it is?
Yeah, well, it's relating to this new
Well,
item.
we didn't get it down here. I don't think she has it, I don't
I
have
have about 12 copies.
There's more copies.
You
You buy it here.
There were like
got any
13.
more?
it. We should be able to.
Here you go.
ID doesn't have it.
Don't take my copy, leave my copy on my desk.
There's a change on your,
It's a change.
Okay, where, do you
All
have
right.
one from here? I didn't understand.
All right, I'll make a mo,
Can we finish?
we gotta make a copy. I'll make a mo.
There were 13, so I don't know what
How
the
many
others
was
are.
that a couple?
Don't
Just
worry about
wait,
it.
let
Come on,
me make
man.
that motion.
Go ahead, Ernie.
I make a motion that we exhibit City of Bridgeport, City of Housing and Management, fiscal year 24 to 28, mid-year capital plan as amended, adopted as 04252026B.
I get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Hear none, see none, vote passed, go.
Thank you. So the short version of this is 3 years ago, the city adopted the capital plan with the Reed School roof, the city's share of funding for the Reed School roof. The roof project ended up costing a little more than expected. The city pays about 21% of the cost, the state pays, 78%. So Michelle Otero and George Garcia and Jamie McCarville, should mention names, the construction team told me that to finish the roof, they need a supplemental budget and the state to get the state supplemental funds for the cost increase, we have to amend the capital plan to acknowledge that the roof is costing more. So the original city contribution was $315,000 of the roof cost, but it's gonna end up being 400 and whatever it is, 48,000. So there's $133,000 city share increase in the roof cost that I would have to, that I'm finding old money to cover. Well, let me rephrase that. That the Board of Ed has found old money from their projects to cover.
Hold on one second. Now, there's a King Boyd, there's a 1057, councilman. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kathy.
So all I'm requesting is that when we do the capital plan, we do an amendment to add $133,000 to the capital plan for the rest of the Reed School roof project.
Okay.
And then we'll be reallocating the old money to pay for that difference. The state's paying most of it, but I guess the state said we have to amend the capital plan for them to give us the rest of the money.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. As we always start all of our capital presentations, we love to show some pictures of projects that you guys have funded. Obviously, we want you guys to see the return on an investment made into the school district. In order to speed up the process, you can look at these at your leisure, but it's a good depiction of what we've been able to do with the partnership that we have with the city council in terms of the work that's happening throughout the district. We have some projects in progress, several playgrounds. We had some unsafe conditions out in the field, so we have started to address those through the partnership with the City Council and the Board of Education. We've got some site work that's gonna happen this summer at Bryant School. We got a failing wall that's starting to affect our butters. We're gonna be rectifying that issue. We've got some asphalt sidewalks on our roadway that we'll be addressing, along with the site itself and the unsafe playground and the Spalding asphalt on that site. The stairs at the Columbus School, the front stairs, the emergency workers started to deteriorate, so we're gonna be replacing that. The JFK 6-6 elevator is gonna be done. Howland restroom upgrades, we'll be completing those this summer. And then we'll be doing all of the control work for HVAC system over at the South End School, which will be eventually the swing space. That's now putting it onto that master system that we have, so we're able to manage everything granularly and save dollars on energy. And then we love to talk about grants, because the way that we focus is that it's not just the contributions to the capital, but we like to look at what's out there in grants. Over the last 5 years, we brought somewhere to the tune of around $5 million in grants. There's also a new grant, DRIP grant, that came in this year at 3.4. We're working through the Department of Energy $3.6 million grant. That had stalled with the new administration, but now we're kicking that one back off. I think we're in contract in some areas of this grant. But the reason why we look at grants granularly is because when we have capital, what we've been able to do is some of those dollars that we're able to scrape into the roof project, right, were savings in other projects. We're able to garner those savings because we'll use the capital funding as a match to a grant, in turn saving some dollars and be able to do multiple projects with the same amount of money. When we get into the next page, this is the request. The original request is the first one. We sat down with finance and we started talking about numbers and dollars that may be allocated to the district or bonded this year. So we readjusted and we got back down to right around 7.4, and that $5 million is what finance is requesting for seed money for the East End, potential East End school. And then there was a amendment to this in the tune of 2.38 million for the potential of a pool on the central site. When you turn to the next page, as you all know, we've gone through a forensic audit, and we've also been working with 2 technical teams. One of those technical teams is working on policy and procedure, and the other is working on the fiscal end of it. Working with the fiscal folks, their name is Public Facilities. They wanted us to make sure that the council got to see exactly what the district's needs were based on a facility condition assessment, which was that $704 million that we we uncovered when we went through the FCA's, the facilities condition assessments. They wanted the council to see what a plan would start to look like based on those studies. But understanding that, you know, we have to be frugal in terms of allocations, we went back to that allocation and we worked with finance on, which is that, that 7.48, and then the addition of the 2.8. And then we showed, we don't have to go through all of the rest of the presentation because it's just some information based on a facilities condition assessment, but I'm proud to report that from that $704 million, we've got that with our planning projects and projects that we completed, projects that are in the hopper, and projects that we're starting to solidify. We're right around $584 million versus that 704. These investments are starting to take root. We're continuing to see where we can find dollars within grants, working with you with capital, and ensuring that we're doing everything we can for the school district. So wanted to be quick and fast. I know that it's been a long morning. So any questions?
All right, Reverend
Yeah, I just wanna say, when we invite these people to come before us, they deserve respect. You know, otherwise, why should they come up in here? You know, and they wanna fight them, and stick your finger up, telling them whatever that mean. I don't know what the little finger mean, I do know what that one mean. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, it's not fair. And I'm gonna tell you, you know, if people don't wanna listen at you all, then George should get up and leave. Because you don't come here to be disrespected. I'm gonna tell you something too, it's not slavery time. Nobody in here have any slave. So no people belong to you, people belong to themselves. You know, so you know, that bothers me, it bothers me a lot. And that's all I have to say, because it's just not fair, it's not fair.
Chair.
So,
Chair, may I?
LT tell me, said, calm down, Mary. Okay, thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Red.
I'm sorry for interjecting, but I just want to piggyback off that. I'm sorry I'm losing my voice.
That's okay.
People have a right to free speech, and they have every right on the council to have policy disagreements. But for someone to hold up a sign in this room, making a personal attack against members of staff is totally out of line, and members of the council should abide by rules of decorum, and that's up to you guys to enforce.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Ernie.
Yeah, let me say this. Try to be nice, work with people. One thing I'm not going to do is let people be disrespectful. Maria, that sign is totally out of place.
And what rule does it violate?
It violates my rule.
No,
It's
it's
totally
free
out of
speech, First
place.
Amendment protected.
It's totally
Is
disrespectful.
anybody's name on here?
Maria, can we go? I
No,
wanna get out of here,
he's
okay?
talking to me.
He's the co-chair.
Hey,
Co-chair.
cut it out,
He's arguing for breaking my First Amendment, right?
all right?
Right. Now, I'm going to apologize for a person who's not even on the committee to come in here and act like this. All right, so, and what we're gonna do is, since she wants to act like that, she's not asking any questions. You hear me?
Fine.
That's correct.
Since she can't abide by our rules,
There is no rule on violating.
okay?
Tell me which
she
rule is
can't
being
abide-
violated.
She can't abide by our rules.
Which rule is being violated?
Maria,
No,
Maria.
he's saying I'm violating a rule.
Maria,
Which rule
we
am
know
I
how to
You're
do
violating?
racist,
Okay.
that's it.
that's it.
I'm racist.
That's it. Go any further.
Everything's racist if you don't
So,
vote.
she's not to speak.
Okay, my
Okay.
constituents.
Fine. All right. Any committee members want to go first before we move on? Okay.
I have a question.
President, yeah,
So,
you get two questions.
I got in the tail end of this 133, so I'm looking at your completed projects and I'm looking at our old capital plan report that we got back in October. So the 133 that you're reallocating from other projects are from your list of completed projects that you have here?
Yeah, so everything that's been completed up until date,
Do
we've
they
looked
have
at
the-
those.
do they
Anything
have
that,
extra money?
yeah, anything that had additional funding left over, we scraped that to come up with the 133. When they did the estimates years ago, as you can imagine, inflation and everything else, the cost of commodities are way up. So when they redid the budgets, there was a shortfall. budget was done about 3 years ago, so the numbers have changed dramatically.
Okay, so my point is that this report, this one, the one that the council did by ordinance,
Yeah.
not you, George. This is part of what we should be looking at right now, as George is explaining this to us.
Revised one, that's the
Well,
revised.
this is the one from my quarterly, we haven't gotten the quarterly yet, Ken just told me he's gonna get it to us. So,
They have them in the office.
I'm only saying this because this is what we passed by ordinance, so we can better understand capital projects, so we're not looking at it like this, so we know where our dollars are, dollar per project. And the reason I'm asking is because maybe we have more money available for other capital projects. And we should have it in front of us now, today, as we're hearing this right now.
Can you have someone
That's my
give us a copy of that, so we'll have
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
right
mean,
now,
it's
so.
a big stack, but,
It should only have one page.
No, I have my whole book,
Oh, you got it.
everybody has it from, we were on the council last year.
Yeah, we still got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
that's all I wanted to do.
okay.
That was, I just wanted to clarify, is it's all that money from all of these projects.
Okay.
Thank you, George.
Gotcha.
Hi, George. I just have a question for you.
Yes.
In regards to, the school district, how many other schools do we still have that we're renting from, like, the diocese?
Currently, we have 2 buildings that we're renting. One is adult education, which I believe is completely funded by the state through the grant program. And then we have St. Peter's, which is the annex to Classical Studies Academy.
That was it, right? Anybody else? Kayla?
Yes.
Then Hakeem, then George.
I have two questions. I'm just looking at the East End School, the city,
Yes.
that 5 million, is that 5 million the money that the mayor's allocating this year?
That's through capital, the 5 million.
And then my question is, like, I know there's this whole plan with the East End School, but my concern is, we have, I wanna say about 5 schools that seem to be the most neglected in that side of town. What is the plan to deal with all those schools?
So I think the age of buildings is probably the largest challenge in the Belleville area for us. Those schools are 90+ years old, non-ADA compliant, no mechanicals. So there's really, where we can put money into one place in one building, we can't put it into those buildings just because the mechanical equipment is just not there. So where we can make a gain somewhere, with changing air handlers or adding controls, we just don't have any of the mechanical equipment. So in those buildings, there's no forced ventilation or anything like that. There's not our ability to filter air and things like that. So that's the biggest challenge in terms of those buildings, because we'll do pointing and waterproofing and things like that, but those aren't big ticket items versus an HVAC expansion or removal and replacement. So I think that's the biggest challenge. Older buildings, a lot less moving parts, a lot less opportunity to go up to the 20%.
George?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, George, I really appreciate the amount of work that you do, man, and your team, because you have a team. Really appreciate your work, man, taking care of these buildings and making some very tough decisions as to what to keep and what not to keep, what to fix up, what not to fix up as far as buildings are concerned. And lastly, I just like to say thank you for taking into consideration about the swimming pool. Not only about the swimming pool, but the importance of youngsters learning to swim. I always said that every child should learn how to swim. It's so very important. And I want to thank you for that, based on what I read in the paper the other day, that you got that going, and there's some stuff we need to get a pool. A large pool. What size of pool, let me just
It's gonna
ask?
be an 8-lane living size pool. These opportunities keep coming, so I'm getting phone calls regularly. Over the years, I've been able to work with some tremendous people in the private sector that are starting to hear the Bridgeport story, I think more than ever, because, we have a strong comms team and the relationship with the council, right? Because people look at the detail. They look at the funding piece, they look to see if there's consistency. And, you know, that conversation revolved around that. Tom was part of that conversation about how there's this synergy that's happening, right? And folks are looking to help Bridgeport out because they see that we got our house in order. The forensic audit shows that it's not about us misusing funds, it's about the fact that we just don't have enough funds, right? So people wanna help out, and this is one of those instances where, you know, that phone call had come in and we had a very strong conversation about, you know, children needing a pool, and you and me had that conversation last year at the same meeting about youngsters, and we talked about the potential of, you know, a new pool in town, so, you know, it's good to, you know, get to the point where we're actually having these conversations for it.
And lastly, so what I read, I would like you to share with the committee and the council. Who reached out to you for that?
John Torres had connected me with the foundation. I met the foundation, had Wakeman join the meeting, because obviously one of those things is, you know, we struggle with staff and FTEs and finding the right folks. You know, at times, we'll interview 30 people and hire one, right? So it's difficult, so we love to have that third party. The foundation feels strongly about a third party, and then having that endowment. But, you know, these conversations are happening at scale. There's another group that I've done work with. I did several turf fields throughout the city, myself and Jamie. And the potential of them coming in and doing the lower turf fields at Central, you know. This is what's happening in the field every day, because we're having the kind of conversations that we do. I think respect and consistency is everything, you know, and we're proving that to the residents, the taxpayer, and to folks outside of Bridgeport, and the state is finally taking it also.
And the expense, lastly, Mr. Chair, the expense, the amount is gonna cost. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Anita?
George, I just wanna commend you, credit you, and applaud you for the work you're doing.
Yes, sir.
Prior to you coming onto the Board of Education, I'm not new to dealing with the Board of Education. We go back to when they wanted to close Dunbar School down with the rain hurrah, so, I mean, I can name names. We were able to save these schools, and under your leadership, I have to say that anytime I call upon you for any issues within the schools in my district, you're effective, efficient, and on point. And prior to you going on to the Board of Education, you ran a phenomenal public facilities department. You saved the city thousands and possibly millions of dollars under your leadership. So I want to applaud you for the good work that you're doing, which you continue to do, and keep up with the good job that you're doing within the Bridgeport school system. I appreciate you.
The team plays a huge role. I've known these folks
Me too.
for
And you
20
have
plus
an experience, left, right, back, front.
Sure do.
Jamie comes from experience. And if you all don't know her background, you really need to research it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Hakeem?
Thank you, Chair. George, good morning.
Good morning.
Councilman Cruz kind of asked my question already, but how many pools do we currently have?
We have one. So Bridgeport Public Schools had two at one point. We have the JFK site, which we renovated through the work of the council and the capital bonding. And then we had the Blackham pool. The Blackham pool, unfortunately, decayed. Blackham has a series of tunnels, so most of our mechanical piping is within tunnels below the building. Within that, the chlorine sort of ate away at the plumbing and made it so we couldn't bring that pool back. So that's been decommissioned. This will give us a second opportunity to give these youngsters, you know, a much needed pool. And in the future, you know, as you look at the facilities master plan, and I'd love to come back to the Education Social Services Committee again, you know, in the future when we renovate Blackham, we'd love to bring that pool back and really give these kids another pool.
Quick follow-up, and what role does Wakeman play in this?
Wakeman, and right now, we're working through those details. There'll be lease agreements, MOUs, I mean, you name it. We're gonna make sure that on the legal side of things, that we have everything tied up. Wakeman, we're looking for a third party to manage. We will own, well, the city of Bridgeport will own the site. We will oversee the site. But within the inner workings, we need a third party that can sort of be there in the evenings, on the weekends. We just don't have the capacity, and the costs for us is exorbitant.
And they'll cover the cost
They
of
will-
insurance and things like that?
So the cost will be covered through an endowment for 10 years through the organization that's gonna give us the funding. I mean, this is a phenomenal opportunity for Bridgeport.
And it'll be free for Bridgeport kids.
Free for Bridgeport kids.
Great.
All set, Hakeem?
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right.
Love it.
Fred?
I kind of answered my question when you said free and endowment, that kind of answered, but I'm still interested in the vocational problem that we have in our city
Yes.
with our schools. I keep saying it over and over and over. Electricians' yearly salary is about 120,000, plumbers about 100,000, carpenters about 120,000. Our kids are not being prepared for the workforce that's coming up. So, and the pool I have no difference with. But I'm with George. What are we doing to upgrade the vocational skills for our children in the schools, in the system?
So, and I love that, and I know that we should circle back because I've got some idea. I know you're working in a different lane. What we do every summer in my department is we have an internship program. Last year was funded through the workforce. We're always finding partners. When you don't have funds, you gotta get creative. And the good thing is that my team is very good at finding every opportunity for us. And what we do every year is we have an internship program. Last year we had about 7 youngsters that went through. And we typically hire one at the end of the season full time. We used to do one specifically based on the trades years ago. And I've got several youngsters that are now leaders in the district that have gone through that. Several folks that have become tradesmen. I'd love to sit down and work on doing something. So there's 2 scales for us. One is because we work with the outside agency to fund, we sort of got to play within that realm. If I can find some additional funding and gives us the flexibility to focus in on the trades, we'd love for those folks, because what we've done in the past is we've had youngsters come in, I think it was around 11 or 12, they'd come in, they'd spend time with each trade for, a few days, a week or so. Then they'd spend some time with the office staff, so they got to understand the back of the house, right? So you understand the trade, you understand the back of the house, and then they got to spend a day with me. And then the whole thing was that we wanted them to see from soup to nuts what goes into facilities on a daily basis, right? Because there is an excitement to it when you see it all come together. At the end of that, we work with the workplace to get them a resume done, right? Now they have something that they can put on their resume, and then interview prep. So when they left, they had these documents with them, they had the experience of it all, and then we would hire 1 or 2 of those youngsters. I'd love to bring that back. If we could find some funding for that, right, to pay their summer, I think that we can really make something powerful.
Yeah, and just to finish up, that's one of the things we're definitely gonna try to find some funding, and been talking with my colleagues on the cannabis money, and which is, we're talking about, and helping George with the funding for some of that money and moving it over to the school projects as far as vocational skill training. I think that's a good idea, because I'm serious, our kids, everybody's not academically astute, and we know that. And what we're doing and we're failing in, because we keep talking about this, and none of us, I grew up in Bridgeport. I grew up when they had all trades in them schools, where they had carpentry, they had electrician, they had plumbing, they had all that. We have none of that now. It seems like we don't focus in on none of that stuff. We focus on everything else about building our kids for the vocational skill trades that are booming in this city and booming in this country. So I hope our city, our council start thinking about that when we start moving money around and helping George, what he just talked about, proposing that trade thing for the kids.
And through the chair, that's probably one of the biggest opportunities for our youngsters. Being in this industry, there is no better place to align our youngsters than in the trades. Because you can't find plumbers, you can't find electricians. This is the moment for us to start to think about the future. But it's twofold. We gotta make sure they stay here.
Okay, Anita, excuse me, sorry, Heidi.
So I maybe I missed it, but so you're saying you need, back to the pool. The cost share for the city of Bridgeport is 2.3, right?
Yes.
For our share. Now, this is going to be a city pool, it's going to be a city BOE pool or a city pool?
It's gonna be, it's
Because there's
on
a
our,
difference.
so we manage it, right, on our property, right? So just like any other structure, anything on our property,
Hold on.
we manage
I
it.
like that you said that, I'm gonna stop you right there. Because we had an agreement And we're gonna make, the Board of Ed is gonna manage it, that's just like what happened with UB. The Board of Ed, when we bought that property to make the new basket, the agreement was, and I think Ernie, you were the chair of school buildings, that the Board of Ed would manage the soccer fields. And it was open to the community, and UB had rights to the field. But what happened was, it was locked, because the Board of Education did not allow UB, because then it became the rumor that they wanted to build another soccer field on the other side of the park, which never came to fruition. So hence, my concern when you say the Board of Ed is gonna manage it, because it was written in the MOU, and written as part of the school building's transfer of the land, so I just wanna make that very clear, that's one. Two, I like the idea of the pool, but what I don't like is that we're talking about it and there's no documentation, like where is it gonna sit on the property? Do you have a diagram of where this is gonna sit?
Yes, Jean,
And is it going to be fully open to the public in the sense of who's going to have the liability if anything happens at this facility and everything? Or is this going to be fully operated and the city's exposure to it?
So I can answer those questions.
And I mean, is it gonna be you say outside with no enclosure for the outside, or an enclosure for the?
So I can, if they wanna add this document to the docket, I can go ahead and explain all of this.
I already found a place for business.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
If
Listen,
I don't see it, I can't vision it.
Can I exhibit this, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Let me exhibit this. All right, I make a motion that we exhibit GLBA City of Bridgeport Swimming Pool Study at 04 205. 2026.
Have a motion? Motion there, can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay.
Madam Chair, I can sort of run through this. So if we go to let's go to page 5. This gives you an aerial view of, this location is between the gymnasium and Madison Avenue. So there's another project that we're working on, and it's solar canopies that'll create a covered walkway from that corner by the gym all the way to Madison Avenue, right? So it dovetails nicely into adding another building in this location. We're working, I think we're in contract with that now. The building, now mind you, this layout is just a rudimentary layout. We haven't, we have to probably finagle this. This is just a visual. So what you're gonna have is you're going to have ticketing booth, bathrooms, lifeguard room, first aid room, concessions, 2 multi-purpose rooms, your electrical closet, pool mechanical room, pool storage, the building mechanical room, and then the custodian's closet, right? The pool site itself will have a 0 depth for the youngsters to get acclimated with, being in the pool. And then you have your 8-lane pool, and we've added bleachers, because, we envision in the future someday to have competition for our youngsters. So this is the current rendition of what it may look like. I envision a bit different. I was out there the other day, me and Jamie actually took a ride out there, because we had nothing better to do. So we started looking at the site and how we may be able to rearrange it and keep the current softball field on site also. What I envision is, we have another donor that I can reach out to that may want to do the lower field in the back as turf. The city is doing the track around the stadium. You have a turf field in the stadium. I envision, imagine if our youngsters have a one-stop shop for athletics in the summer. right? I mean, you know, we have to think about where we're making our investments and how we stack our investments in a way where it becomes a lot less cost to be able to manage it all in one place. This does that. There's been conversation of the potential of a field house like New Haven. Right? So 2 basketball courts, indoor, all indoor, but indoor track. So, you know, when you got an architect and they're willing to do something for free, I try to leverage everything. So I had them add that to scale so we can understand if it fits. This is not part of the project, but I wanted to show it so folks can understand the direction we'd like to take this in, and it was free. But, you know, at the end of the day, the way that I envision building this out is probably turning this and being able to keep that field, but also building it in a way that in the future, if we wanted to enclose it, we can, right? Because at the end of the day, that may be an option that we may want to partake in into the future, right? So why not build footings in now while it doesn't cost you anything much more extra, but prepare for the future. When we think about projects, we think about sustainability and how you can leverage the first round of funding. So that is where we are. And you had another question. I know you talked about site, and then you talked about
So, I talked about the,
liabilities. So the liabilities, we will create a host of MOUs and lease agreements, and I mean, that's all legal stuff. So, you know, the actual documentation that we will wrap this up in will be worked out through our attorney's office.
and I guess the 2.3, and it's non-reimbursable because, to the state, because it's not part of the school.
No, the reason for the organization wants skin in the game, obviously, that the city's not gonna just let this fall, right? But, you know, a lion's share of the funding, somewhere in a $8 to $9 million will be the donation, plus the endowment.
Okay.
It's a theory of costs.
Fredo.
Because this is school there, that's Central High
That's
School.
central, yes.
Is there any way that we can match it with the state on construction bonding from the state?
It's because it's not, you'd have to have this, I believe, as part of the academic programming based on a host of things. I don't think it'll qualify.
No.
So, you know.
Because it's a community pool primarily.
Yes.
and
Because the
not a
usage
swim
is,
team, you know, like
yes.
The school won't be able to use it too?
The school will be able to use it because we have, this is being based predominantly on outside usage. So, it's something we can look at, but I'm fairly certain that we're not gonna leverage any additional dollars.
You all set? Okay. You all set? Okay. Tasha?
Hi again. So basically, my question goes back kind of in
Go.
regards to.
We're in the meeting.
Alfredo, turn around.
Go ahead.
Sorry, in regards to how it's starting to look like to me is that you're expanding, but you're giving our youth more than what they usually get, right? So, this is awesome, especially, I like how you think it's getting free. When it comes to actually, when some of these places are built up, like for example, you said a concession stand, do you think that we can actually get our youth involved by giving them jobs? Because one of the things that I've noticed over the years, and especially in Bridgeport, back in the days when I was in school, I could find a job with no problem. Grocery store, McDonald's, all of that. Now you have people that are older now, grandparents, uncles, all of that are taking the jobs from the youth, and our kids aren't able to learn those basic skills because they can't find a job. So is there some way, and this is something to bring back to the Board of Ed, and when you go in front of Education and Social Services, I'll put that out there as well. But we need to start incorporating that aspect of it back into the school district. Because like you were saying, for example, I did carpentry when I was in elementary school. To make a candy ball machine from start to finish, That was the best thing ever. And I still have it to this day. And guess what? It doesn't break when you put the candy in there.
To your point through the chair, I think it's very important for us, all of these opportunities that we come together to an accord, we have to make sure that the youngsters are at the forefront of it, right? So, you know, whether it's through MOU or understandings or what have you, I think that has to be written into how we're going to manage these things. Because these youngsters do need these opportunities. And more, when I talk to these youngsters at the school level, a lot of them, when they do what they do here and get their education, a lot of them move on, they feel they have to move on because the opportunities aren't there. We need to reverse that.
George.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, again, I'm just laughing to myself how everything comes back around the whole full circle, because right there with the Wakeman word was the old boys club. You know, that we used to walk all the way from PT to go there, play ball. I was mostly in the pool, because I love to swim. And everything is just circle back. You got the Wakeman that provides the basketball and the other activities, also the working with, what is it, Southwest? You know, I got all that in there. Now we're gonna have a pool. That, like I always say, is so important, not only for youngsters, but for anybody to learn how to swim. You know, not only learn how to swim, but to also be educated how, when they're at the beach, how to go against the current, the undercurrent. People don't understand how important that is. Just 3 feet of water. If they don't know, if there's an undercurrent, it can just sweep them out, and they don't know how to swim diagonally against my foot. The other thing, like my colleague mentioned, that is a good opportunity to provide summer jobs for youngsters to be lifeguards. You know, it would be great. So I just love the plan. Like I said, anything that helps to educate, train people, I love it, man. So thank you.
Yeah. Fred, Galen, Newton.
I just want the sentiments of George. I mean, I can remember growing up and swimming. I was the only African American on a Harding swim team, and we practiced at Working Boys Club because we didn't have a swim team. So it's something big to me. And I became a lifeguard, and I had to go all the way out to Quinnipiac College back in the day to train for that, to become a lifeguard. So it's good to me. And also with the trade, I happened to be brought up in local 488 when I was a kid. IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I went 3 years. That's another story where I went after that. But that's why it's dear to me. I can remember when I was a kid, and I went to fill my income tax out. And they told me I couldn't fill it out because I was considered middle class. I was living in a father-family village, making more money than my parents.
Wow.
So that's why it's very dear to me, and some of the things that George is bringing up. And I'm happy to support any way that we can, pools and electrical trade, and it just makes my heart smile, man. I just want to say that, man.
I just wanted to build on Councilman Hodges' statements earlier. I think next year we really want to think about working with the BOE to address maybe a vocational center, a maker space for our kids. These are the jobs of the future. Even when they have robots doing plumbing, I'm not sure we're going to get them first in Bridgeport. Now, I do want to commend you as well for the work to get this grant on the pool. I do think it's an extremely important thing. But given the fact that we had the BOE in here asking to help cover a $38 million budget deficit this year, Nestor said, sitting right here, we got $8 million annual increases. So you're asking for an extra $2.3 million from the council, and maybe this is the worst question I've ever asked, but for alternatives, like we have a pool in this building that's not being used, I hear.
In the basement.
In the basement.
It's the archives.
Yeah. There's a pool at the Orcott Boys and Girls Club, so non-functional. Well, right, but like I'm just listening to the possibility of recommissioning an older pool at a reduced rate. I know it's not like as nice as what you've laid out, having everything here, but I
A little bit, through the chair, a little bit of experience in that. We did try to do that here at the old senior center downtown. Just didn't work out. Once you have, you know, when someone else takes over these properties, it makes it difficult. That's why having us sort of managing that on a higher level is important. I think that's the basis of it all, you know? I didn't know it was a pool here though, that's interesting.
I wanna see that. I learned that recently myself too.
You all set?
Question, how do you plan on dealing with the parking spaces? I see 84 parking spaces. When the school is open.
A lot of this, during the school day, so in the past, the Board of Ed has bus students back and forth to JFK or Blackman. We did have a preliminary conversation of the potential of how that would look, just for us to have an understanding of making sure that there would be some usage for the youngsters. A lot of this will be after hours and on the weekends where you'll have that influx of cars and parents. So when we looked at the site itself, the site does lend itself with parking throughout, so we think that we can accommodate. The beauty of it is that because this would be substantially more costly, because we did look at several different sites, when you have to establish parking and utility and everything that is already in place, you're probably looking at a $5 to $6 million difference in cost. Because we currently have the parking in place, the utility, the lights and everything else, it brings the cost way down. And the fact that we're doing the solar, we can tie solar into that building, also into the school, because we currently have solar array in the school. But, you know, having an additional structure makes that application a lot more powerful for us.
And my last question, are you gonna have forums within the districts
Yes.
that the East End schools, you know?
Yes, so we had some early on, and we are working on having additional. So there's forums to let folks know where we are as a district and how things are, how projects and things may affect the different districts. But then there's also the policy that we have to go through. We've completed that facilities master plan, and then we have to create a committee and all these things, and we have all of that. We've sat with legal to go through all of that, how all of that would look, so yes, is the answer.
Ernie, thank you. I also want to thank you on the work that you've done, working with the school buildings committee, making sure you went out there to make sure Bassett was put together with no overruns like in those high schools I know of. The key part that I hope happens is that maybe one day we get Board of Ed. I know when they get some of the school, look at the trade school. Everybody can get in there, or Prac-Tech. But if we had our own, it would be excellent, man. And, we used to have these things, auto shop, all kinds of stuff we used to have. And so I'm hoping that that happens. But if we're gonna do the work over here at Central, we gotta stop piecemealing stuff and just do it. To put a field house, let's do it. Let's put everything together and just do it. Instead of just waiting. But I want to thank you all for a good meeting. And I want to thank, and I'll give it to the coach, my chair. I want to thank you all for a good meeting. Some people got a little upset. We're not going to let you be disrespectful. And, to the budget committee, I need everybody to definitely be here because crunch time is coming. And it's important. We have a few more meetings, and then we gotta come together and really do the work of putting this stuff together.
So I'm gonna end it with this. I actually come from the trades, from Bassett High School, but I haven't met him shop. Traffic, yes. Not their presidents, not their presidents high school, okay? We ain't gonna go there. So I go from there, and I tell you, I did my internship at Bowdoin. That's why I started Bowdoin before I went into Sikorsky, which this year will make my 30th year at Sikorsky, so. Which I already got my gold pin, so my service comes up for 30 years. I tell you, you come from the product, and I came from Maria Focus, from actually nothing.
That's right.
And I'm gonna tell you, I take pride in what I do. And I tell them all the time, because they told me the same thing. It's a shame that we don't do trade. They got away from it, they shouldn't never got away from it, but they made their own budget cuts. They made their own bed, they slept with it. They need to bring it back, but that's Let's wait for the board to end and bring it back. All right?
Before I ask for adjournment, we also joined by Council President.
She's been on.
She's been on, and we mentioned, and Councilwoman Rolanda Smith, we wanted to make sure you've been here, we recognize that.
All right?
Michelle Lyons and Loretta Devine.
Michelle Lyons and
Lorette Dubois.
Lorette Dubois.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
We have DTC on Tuesday, so I canceled it.
Because there are three programs there at the moment, and the board that is trying to expand. Can you just let the committee know that before they adjourn?
Sure, so, there's, the automotive program, we're building a plan, if you haven't seen it, give me a call, I'll get you out there to see it. The plan is, the structure itself is pretty complete, it's amazing, so we have a shop for that. There's a carpentry shop, there's also HVAC, so we've expanded out through the work of the school building committee, we're able to get that. But to one piece of that, as we start to look at what we do in this district with the facilities master plan, buildings that may become available, we have to take one of those buildings and start using it for that kind of use, right? We have to be strategic and intentional on every single decision that we make, and that's one of them. These youngsters, we need to build them up and keep them here. That is near and dear to my heart, and I've been trying to do this for years, and we have a history of that. The stories, like these gentlemen talked about, we have several of those in the district working now. I got head custodians, I got drivers, I got tradesmen that I'd love for you to come to my facility and talk to. And some of you have, right? We've had a host of folks come through. But what I can say is that it's happening, we need to expand on that.
Amen. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye, young man.
Get done.
Take a photo if you want.